We expect him to be one of our starters and to be extremely productive and to continue to mature as a pitcher and develop his pitches, and a guy that can be a workhorse for you and give you innings and give you valuable innings. So I'm excited to see him pitch because I really haven't had a chance to really watch him. It's a young man with a great arm that basically threw 200 innings last year, and we expect him to be a big part of our rotation.
Marley, and then Dave.
Joe, what did you think of the letter that Alex sent out, and not only that, and his approach of addressing his feelings?
Well, I think a person's approach is the way they feel most comfortable about doing it, whether that's how you or me or anyone else in this room would have done it. Maybe some of us would have done it that way. That's just a person's approach, and you want the person to be comfortable in the way they do it, or it comes off as sometimes insincere. I think he apologized to the game. Steroids has hurt this game, and it has changed the way that we look at a lot of things in this game. And the guy puts up big numbers, and the first thing that happens is your antennas go up. Is he possibly on PEDs? Where 25 years ago we didn't do that. We would just talk about a person having a great season, and for that, it's hurt the game, and it saddens me. But that was Alex's choice, and it was the way that he was comfortable in doing it, and we'll deal with it.
Dave.
Joe, when you handle older players in spring training, it seems like the routine is to make sure to balance their workload. They're older players. You don't want them to get hurt. You want to ease into it. In Alex's case, it seems like he's going to need a lot of work.
Right.
All the time he missed. So do you think the timetable is going to be able to get him ready by opening day? Is that something that you're curious about?
Of course I'm curious about that. I think, though, you're talking about him possibly DHing on a lot of days in spring training, and that's not quite as taxing as playing the field on an everyday basis or playing 2 out of 3 days. So, but he's going to need to get his at-bats. Will it come to a point where we have to send him to the minor leagues to get 8 at-bats one day? Maybe, to try to catch him up and to speed up the process. But it is a balance. We will have to balance, and communication is extremely important.
Dave, you want to just pass it to Mark? Thanks.
Hi, Jim.
Hi.
With Alex, I know there was some talk earlier in the winter about him maybe taking some reps at first base this spring. Is that something you're planning on this?
That will be a conversation I have when he gets here, because I can have the conversation over the phone, but I can't see his face and his reaction to it. So I want to have it in person. Everything that he said, he's willing to do anything to help us, and that's what you want from your players. So, but that will be a conversation I have when he gets here.
And also, I know there's been some talk, and I think he even mentioned in his letter about earning a spot. As far as you're concerned, does he have a spot? Does he have a job on this team, or does he have to prove himself again because he's been away for so long?
Well, he's on our roster, but I think you have to prove yourself in the sense that for playing time and how you fit in, because we really haven't seen him play in 2 years, and we don't know exactly where he's at. So that's something that he has to prove and earn.
Are you interested to see how he responds to that? He's never had that in his whole life where
He's had it when he was a young player. I mean, I think every young player goes through that when you're fighting to get to the big leagues. And, as a young player, I think it's important that you embrace that challenge, and you embrace the challenge of proving to everyone that you can play. As an older player, I think you have to embrace the challenge to prove to everyone you can still play, because that's what happens. The whispers start. You have a bad week. Is this the beginning of the end? I mean, that's what happens when you're an older player. So, for him, he's going to have to embrace it.
Raquel, in the middle, Joe.
Joe, aloha from the great state of Hawaii.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a little nicer there.
Joe, would you agree that the Yankees in the Bronx saw the most players from the Yankees minor leagues last season than in any other season in which you've been a manager? And if so, can you highlight a couple of those players?
Well, I'm not sure as far as a number if we saw more. I mean, obviously the one that really sticks out is Dellin Betances and what he did for us last year. And you look at his numbers, pretty remarkable. I mean, the numbers are better than Mariano Rivera's first-year numbers. When you look at the strikeouts and the amount of innings, it's really impressive. You had a guy like John Ryan Murphy come up and make an impact. You saw some younger players out of the bullpen come up and make a little bit of an impact. But over the last 2 years, I don't know what the number of players we've used, but it's probably been about 110, and that's more than any 2-year period that I've been here.
I think that's a good place to segue into a Twitter question from Jeremiah Cedeno. Joe, this team has changed quite a bit since you started managing it. What's your initial observation of this year's team?
Well, I think when you look at this year's team, I think we've added a lot of good young arms. I think we've added some good young players as well. My observation on this team is it's probably going to be as competitive camp as I've been in, just because of all the new players and the young players and the spots that are somewhat open here. So that is a little bit different than what we've been used to. I think we've really seen an improvement in our young minor league players, in the impact that they are capable of having, and I think we'll continue to see that over the years, for years to come.
Clap.
Joe, are you worried in any way that this spring is going to be the Alex Rodriguez spring, and the attention he's going to draw, the questions you're going to have to answer, and the amount of traffic in your clubhouse around him? Is that going to be a problem?
One of the things that I learned in 1996 when I came here was this is a different place. It's different when you put on a New York Yankee uniform. You are with one of the most recognizable companies in the world. And with that becomes a lot of media coverage, a lot of questions that you have to answer. And for some players, it takes some time to adjust. Some players adjust really quickly, and some don't adjust so well. But that's part of the gig here. And the one thing that's going to happen is for the new players that are here that aren't used to this, they're going to get it right away. They're going to get baptized very quickly. And the one thing that you need to have as a New York Yankee player is thick skin. I think the one thing that you have to have as a champion is thick skin. So there's going to be another big story with the New York Yankees besides this that comes about during the course of the season. It always happens. So they're going to get their first baptism during the spring. And it's going to be a pretty big splash. And there's going to be a lot of media here. And whether Alex would have held a press conference earlier this week, would it have changed the amount of media that would have been here when he arrives? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. But I think people are still anxious to see him and see what he looks like and how he's moving and how he's performing. And they're going to ask questions. My job is to make sure that we get all of our work in. And we will do that as a coaching staff. As far as being a distraction, if you're with the New York Yankees, you need to learn how to deal with situations like this, because it's going to happen. And if you're here for a 5-year period, you're going to see it maybe 8, 9, 10 times. I mean, this isn't the first big story we've had coming into spring training. Maybe the biggest some of them will be a part of, but there's been big stories before, and our players have dealt with it. And I believe that we have enough veterans in that clubhouse to show the kids the way, and they'll help them out.